What's going on? Welcome to this week's video. Last week I showed you guys how to make an end screen for your YouTube videos. So I thought maybe this week I'll show you guys how to make a thumbnail. Thumbnails are a little more intricate. They're not like an end screen where they just have to be simple to get the point across. When you think about it and you're scrolling through YouTube, thumbnails are the first thing you see. The whole point of a thumbnail is to stand out and make sure that it catches the viewer's eye. And I think my skills in Photoshop have started to progress in a way where my thumbnails are actually starting to be pretty good. Don't forget, if you guys ever have any questions, you can always pop into my stream. I stream on Twitch every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. MST. I know when I first started doing this kind of stuff, it was really hard for me to develop the skills that I needed to. So yeah, let me show you my process of making a thumbnail. Alright, so to create your thumbnail, first you want to open up Photoshop, obviously, or whatever you're using to edit. Normally what I do first is I just go online, I go to Google, I type in thumbnail background 1280 by 720, that's the standard dimension of a thumbnail. I scroll down and look for just a background I like, something simple with a little bit of color that I can alter. So let's say I go with this one. Copy image, create another layer down here at the bottom, and then Control V to paste it. The next thing I'll do is go down here to this circle, and then add a hue and saturation layer. Mess with the hue a bit to change some of the colors, maybe tone down the saturation a tad bit. After you've changed the hue and saturation, go up here to filter, go to blur, and go to Gaussian blur. This is gonna blur the background so whatever you put on top of it pops a little bit more. Once you've done all this, then you can start brainstorming on the layers that you wanna add on top of it. For me, I think the first thing I wanna do is I wanna go to Google and I wanna find a Photoshop logo. Now that I've found the logo I wanted, I can take the same process with this as I did the background. Make sure that when you do this, it's on a new layer. To resize anything on Photoshop, you can select that layer and press Ctrl T. Make sure that when you're resizing your images that you're holding down Shift while you're dragging. If you don't, it'll make it all disproportioned. I don't necessarily like the way these colors contrast, so I'm going to go back to my hue and saturation layer and change the color. Then I'm going to select the Photoshop logo again, Ctrl T, and rotate it a little bit. Also, if you're ever having trouble getting ideas, you can always look up thumbnail tutorial on YouTube and look at everyone else's thumbnails and even watch the videos for examples. The next thing I want to do with the Photoshop logo is add an outer glow. With this glow, you can click on this square right here and it'll bring up a color palette. When you take your mouse off the palette, it'll show as a dropper tool and you can click anywhere to match that color. You can mess with the opacity of the glow, the spread, and also the size. After you've messed around with some of the effects you want on your image, you can start worrying about text. I'll leave some links down in the description below where you can download new fonts. Go over here to the text tool and click on the background. Select the text and start to type in what you want to be on the thumbnail. Then Ctrl T to increase the size. After this, you want to start planning out how you want to make the text pop. For this, I'm going to double click and make the text black. Then I'm going to go over here to the colors, select the color I want, which is indeed yellow, and then I'm going to go to the rectangle tool and create a yellow rectangle. Now as you see, the text is hidden behind the rectangle. All you have to do is go down here to your layers and move the text layer above the rectangle layer. Now I'm going to go to my text layer and go to the effects tab and add a drop shadow. Now as you can see, it's a little too dark, so I'm going to decrease the opacity, tweak with the angle a little bit, mess with the distance to make sure that it's not too far away from the text, tweak the spread, and also the size. I think it looks a little weird with lowercase letters, so now I'm just going to make it all caps. Now the nice thing about editing is that when you don't like something, you can change it as you go. As I look over to my right monitor, I really don't like how the yellow looks. It's a little too dark for me, so what I'm going to do is make it red. Select your rectangle layer, go up here, and you can change the color. Now to make the text pop a little more with the red, I'm actually going to make it white. And now what I can do with the drop shadow is make it a little darker since it's not under black text. So to do that, I'll double click on the drop shadow and I'll increase the opacity. Now I really like the way this looks. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here to my layers, I'm going to select the rectangle layer and then press Control and select the how-to layer. Now that I have both selected, I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Link Layers. Now that they're linked, what I'm able to do is press Control T and size both of them together. Now as I come to finish this text, I really want to keep a similar style when I create my other text so it's not just random effects all over the place. So I'm going to select these layers, press the Alt key, and drag down to make a copy. As you make this copy, the one thing that it won't duplicate is the fact that the layers were linked. So now you can edit each one individually. Now I'm going to edit the words in their color and also the color and size of the rectangle. As I've made the new words in rectangle, I kind of want to do something where it goes under this how to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link these layers again, Control T, increase the size a little bit, rotate it, then go to these linked layers and add a drop shadow to them. This adds a bit of a shaded effect to emphasize that one layer is under another. Now again, I'm going to take these layers and copy them. Now my next step would be to edit this text layer the way I want it. Now that I've got that done, I'm going to copy the same make layer, re-rotate it, increase the size, and then edit the text. I see that my rectangle over here is overlapping my Photoshop logo. What I can do, again, just go down here to that layer, move it all the way to the top. After doing all of this, you can analyze the colors and effects that you've added and see if they match, and then you can also look at the background and see if there's any colors you want to change or if there's any other things you want to add. I personally think the color could be changed a bit, so I'm going to go back to my hue and saturation layer and mess with it. And with that color, I really like it. I really like the product. I like how this turned out. Given my certain skills, I think this is a really good thumbnail. It gets the point across and it catches the eye with the colors. You can always press the Alt key down and scroll down on the mouse wheel to minimize the image. That way you can see how well everything pops and how readable it is from a distance. Once you've determined that it's good enough for your taste, you can go up to File and save it. After you've saved your thumbnail, go to File, go to Export, and then go to Export As. YouTube thumbnails only accept a certain file size, so I always select the PNG format and then export. So yeah, that's how you make a thumbnail, or at least that's how I do it. I know it's got some simplicity to it. It's not like an end screen. It does require a little more thought and detail into some of the effects that you add to text and images. And this is just a basic form of a thumbnail. I'm no expert, but the ones who are can go more in depth when it comes to cutting and cropping images in a more refined way. But overall, it's fun to learn, and I think it's really useful to know how to do yourself. Whether or not it's a career path that you end up taking for yourself, I think in terms of trying to become a content creator, if you eventually plan on hiring an editor, I think it's really important to know what it takes to be one. That way there's no misunderstandings on what it takes and you're not taking advantage of them in any way. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I had a fun time making it. I think as I learn more about Photoshop and Premiere, and hopefully After Effects soon as well, I'll be able to teach you guys how to do a lot of cool things. Again, thank you guys so much for your support, and I'll see you in the next one.